Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling, well, one of the most persistent mysteries out there, the Jeffrey Epstein case.
Absolutely. It's captivated people for years, hasn't it? So many questions.
Exactly. And our goal today is to unpack the latest official findings, especially about that infamous client list.
And then look at the fallout, because it's been pretty intense, particularly in certain political arenas.
Right. We want to cut through some of the noise and get to what the official reports actually say or perhaps don't say.
And it's important to remember the background here. There were really high expectations built up around these Epstein files for a long time.
Huge expectations, political promises were made.
Definitely, which created this really complex situation, information-wise. So this deep dive, it's really about that clash, the expectations versus what the official reports delivered.
So let's rewind a bit to that anticipation, because it was palpable.
Oh, absolutely.
You had people close to President Trump setting these really high expectations for a massive reveal.
Yeah, the talk was of a truckload of stuff, things that would be jaw-dropping, just
Plus,
incredible.
Attorney General Pam Bondi herself, she said earlier this year something like, "It's sitting on my desk right now to review."
Right. That specific quote really fueled the fire. It made it sound imminent, concrete.
The public was definitely primed for something big, a bombshell.
But then, July 10th, 2025 rolls around, and we get, well, something else entirely.
Yeah, the DOJ and the FBI, they put out this joint memo, unsigned, interestingly.
And it basically said, look, we did an exhaustive inquiry, sifted through 300 gigabytes of material.
Which is a lot of data.
A huge amount. And they found no signs of illegal activity by any new third parties.
And critically, quote, no incriminating client list.
That was the big one. No list.
Yeah.
And the memo also restated the official conclusion. Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide.
The reaction, immediate. And let's just say not positive in some circles.
No. The right-wing media, AGA supporters,
Yeah.
they were, well, fuming is a good word.
You could really feel that sense of expectations just crashing into this stark reality presented by the memo.
Totally misaligned, as you said.
Right.
A feeling that the administration, after hyping it up, had somehow imploded on them.
Yeah, the narrative shifted to them stoking a conspiracy and then nothing.
And that brings us right to the core contradiction, doesn't it? The list.
It really does. You have Pam Bondi saying, essentially, I have the list, I'm looking at it.
On her desk.
And then the official DOJ FBI memo saying, flat out, no incriminating client list exists.
How do you square that? It's a direct contradiction.
Well, a lot of people aren't squaring it. Public skepticism, political skepticism, it just went through the roof.
You saw that with Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, right, on X this week.
Yeah, she insisted there's a 97-page book with names, contact details, almost 2,000 people, world leaders, celebrities.
And she just flatly stated, no one believes there is not a client list, full stop.
But then you have a counter voice, someone who's been deep in this for years.
Right, Julie Brown, the Miami Herald reporter, her perspective is, well, very different.
What did she say exactly?
She said, there is no client list that I am aware of. And then she offered her theory. It was something conspiracy theorists cooked up to monetize their podcasts online.
Oof. That's quite a counter-narrative.
It really is. Pits investigative journalism against these persistent claims.
So you, listening, what stands out to you here? This clash is about more than just a list, isn't it? It's about trust, information, how we decide what's real.
Absolutely. How do you navigate that fog?
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Beyond the list, there's the other massive point of contention, Epstein's death itself.
Right. The official conclusion is suicide, reaffirmed in that memo. But public doubt, still incredibly high.
So what did the OIG, the Office of the Inspector General, actually find when they investigated his custody and care at MCC New York? Because the details are pretty damning.
They really are. The report details a cascade of failures leading up to his death on August 10th, 2019.
Like what specifically?
Well, first, his cellmate. He was transferred out the day before Epstein died, August 9th.
Leaving Epstein alone.
Exactly. Alone. Despite a forensic psychologist specifically advising that Epstein, as a sex offender in the special housing unit, the SHU needed a cellmate.
And the staff knew this requirement?
The OIG found MCC staff were aware he needed a cellmate, but he didn't get one.
Okay, what else?
There was an irregular phone call. Also on August 9th, Epstein was allowed to make an unrecorded, unmonitored call.
That sounds like a major breach of policy.
It was a clear violation of Bureau of Prisons policy. He supposedly called his mother, but it was allegedly someone he had a personal relationship with. unmonitored.
Wow. And the conditions inside the cell
Well,
monitored.
that's where it gets even worse, frankly.
Yeah.
After his death, they searched his cell, found excess prison blankets, linens, and clothing.
And some were ripped, like for a noose.
Yes, some ripped apparently to create nooses, and Bondi confirmed his mattress was on the floor, which is apparently where he always slept.
Okay. And the checks, the cell searches.
That's another huge failure. The records showed only one documented cell search in the SHU on August 9th, and it wasn't even Epstein's cell.
But weren't they supposed to do multiple searches?
Oh yeah, SHU post orders required 5 cell searches daily and weekly full SHU searches. BOP records couldn't even show when Epstein's cell was last searched.
And the regular checks on inmates, the 30-minute rounds?
Didn't happen. The OIG found SHU staff did not conduct any 30-minute rounds after about 10:40 p.m. on August 9th. None.
And the inmate counts.
Also missing. None of the required SHU inmate counts were done after 4 p.m. on August 9th.
So basically, from late evening onwards, nobody was checking on him or counting inmates properly.
Correct. And get this. The count slips and the round sheets, they were falsified.
Falsified. How?
Staff admitted they likely wrote down the numbers they thought should have been entered. Basically, they filled them in after the fact to make it look like they'd done the check.
Unbelievable. And the cameras. There were cameras, right?
Yes. The cameras. The FBI did a forensic analysis. They found disk failures happened in MCC New York's DVR2 system back on July 29, 2019.
Weeks before his death.
Yes. And this failure meant it was unable to record. They discovered the failure on August 8th, but it wasn't fixed by August 10th, the day he died.
So no footage.
Exactly. No recordings from those cameras were available. And that included the camera at the end of L tier, which was where Epstein was housed.
So you have falsified logs, no cell checks, no proper counts, a required cellmate removed, an improper phone call, and the camera covering his area wasn't working.
Correct. A staggering list of failures and protocol violations.
Yet the official conclusion holds. Suicide. No criminality involved in his death. It's hard to reconcile those two things, isn't it? The sheer level of negligence versus the firm conclusion.
It is. And the medical examiner's findings are key here. The ME who did the autopsy detailed why the injuries pointed to suicide by hanging.
What specific?
Things like the absence of debris under his fingernails, no marks on his hands, no contusions on his knuckles, no bruises indicating a struggle. Those injuries were seen as more consistent with suicide rather than homicide by strangulation.
Okay. So the physical evidence from the autopsy pointed away from a struggle or homicide.
According to the medical examiner, yes. And that's why the OIG concluded that, despite all the significant violations and falsified records by staff,
Which were huge.
huge, they still did not uncover evidence that contradicted the FBI's determination regarding the absence of criminality in connection with how Epstein died.
But they did flag systemic issues, right?
Oh, definitely. The OIG report hammered the BOP on recurring issues. Chronic staffing shortages were a big one. They mentioned a material handler working a 24-hour straight shift.
24 hours. Wow.
Yeah. Plus ongoing problems with properly caring for inmates at risk of suicide, and of course keeping security cameras functional. It paints a picture of a system under immense strain.
Okay, so that's the situation around his death. But this whole episode, the memo, the findings, it seems to have caused chaos within the administration, too.
Yes, reports surfaced pretty quickly about a major clash at the highest levels over these Epstein files.
Tempers reportedly flared. Things didn't end on friendly terms, is what some sources said.
Right, and specifically, there seems to be tension between Attorney General Pam Bondi and the FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino.
Bongino, what's the story there?
Well, reports claim Bongino was MIA from work the day after the memo dropped, July 11th, and that he's considering quitting.
Why?
Apparently, there was a screaming match in the West Wing, and it's been reported that Bongino has made no secret of the fact that he hates his FBI job.
Which is interesting because wasn't he very vocal before joining the FBI about releasing the Epstein list?
Extremely vocal.
Yeah.
He famously said he'd dedicate his entire life to owning the libs, and he strongly advocated for releasing the Epstein list. So this outcome, this memo, must be awkward, at least.
And then there's the FBI director, Kash Patel. He also previously called for releasing Epstein's list, right?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Patel even stated that the FBI director has direct control over Epstein's address book.
But now Patel's facing his own scrutiny.
Yeah, questions about his commitment to the Bureau, allegations about frequent nightclub visits, working remotely from Las Vegas, even ordering polygraph tests for staff he suspected of leaking information. And there are reports about financial ties to the company Shane.
So lots of internal drama swirling around the key figures involved in this memo,
Seems that way, although it's important to note the official counter-narrative.
which is...
Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche came out and said he worked closely with both Patel and Bongino on the memo. He insisted all three signed off on its contents.
So he's pushing back hard against the idea of conflict.
Very hard. He said, the suggestion by anyone that there was any daylight between the FBI and DOJ leadership on this memo's composition and release is patently false.
Patently false. Strong words. So you have reports of screaming matches and people wanting to quit versus an official statement denying any disagreement whatsoever.
Exactly. It leaves you wondering what's really going on behind the scenes. Political damage control, genuine disagreement smoothed over, hard to say.
And what about President Trump himself? How has he reacted recently?
Well, there was that cabinet meeting on July 8th, just before the memo dropped. He apparently expressed surprise that people were still talking about this guy, this creep, especially with other things going on, like the flooding in Texas.
Which some people saw as, what, deflection?
Yeah, some interpreted it as an attempt by the president to deflect from the Epstein issue.
And his past comments have been kind of ambiguous too, haven't they?
They have. On declassifying Epstein files, he once said, yeah, I would, but then also worried about phony stuff being included.
And that really strange "I wish her well" comment about Ghislaine Maxwell during her trial.
Right. That one raised a lot of eyebrows at the time. It all adds to the, well, the complexity of his position on this.
So bringing it back out, how does this connect to the broader public reaction?
Well, people advocating for transparency, like those Charlie Kirk mentioned, they're reportedly profoundly confused by how the administration handled this.
Confused how?
They see it less about Epstein specifically and more as a bigger question of how our government operates. You know, the promises versus the delivery.
And that confusion, or maybe disillusionment, is echoed by some of the president's own supporters, right?
Absolutely. We've seen some pretty strong reactions online, even calls from some Maggier supporters saying the Trump administration has become part of the cover-up.
Wow, accusing Trump of being part of the cover-up.
And even that, Trump has become the deep state. That's a significant turn, considering the source.
It really is. And then you throw in Alan Dershowitz's claim.
Right. Dershowitz alleged that 2 federal judges in New York are keeping key court records surrounding Jeffrey Epstein under seal.
To protect people named in the litigation.
That's what he claimed, yes. To protect certain people named in litigation related to a sex trafficking operation. He said he knew this for a fact.
And is it true there are sealed records?
It has been confirmed that, yes, sealed filings do exist in related civil cases. What's in them, of course, remains sealed.
So this whole saga, the list that wasn't, the questions around his death, the alleged infighting, the public backlash, it really raises fundamental questions, doesn't it?
It really does. Questions about public trust, accountability.
Especially when official findings clash so dramatically with deeply held beliefs and, frankly, with prior statements from officials themselves. How do you maintain trust in institutions when that happens?
That's the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it?
So wrapping up this deep dive, it's clear we're still tangled in a complex web, contradictions abound, frustrations are high.
And definitive answers. They seem as elusive as ever for many people, which just keeps the speculation machine running. So maybe a final thought for you, listening. What does this whole enduring Epstein controversy, especially the reactions we've seen to these latest official findings, what does it tell us about our current information landscape?
Yeah, about how we process information, who we trust.
Exactly. And the power that narratives hold, sometimes even over documented evidence, in shaping public understanding today. It's something worth pondering.